Welcome to A Lunch with Biggie, a podcast about small business and creatives sharing their stories and inspiring you. My guest today brought something they loved from Oregon and decided to make their version of it in Orlando. They created a food truck park that provides a social dining experience and a family-friendly environment with their open-air pavilion, as well as also covered indoor seating and an awesome rotating lineup of beers in an indoor bar. Please welcome the owners of A La Carte Orlando, April and Dustin Williams. What's going on, guys?
Hey, good morning.
Hey, what's going on?
What's going on? I'm super excited for you guys to be on this.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
Thank you. So before we start, I'm going to ask the question, what's your go-to favorite sandwich?
I got to go a Reuben. I like any type of Reuben, turkey Reuben, pastrami. I've seen some fish Reuben out there recently. I'm ready to get on some of that. So I love it.
He does. I think I'd go for a grilled cheese with avocado and tomato, all melty and gooey. It sounds amazing.
Oh, I love those. That super sounds good. I absolutely, now I'm hungry. Great. So let's go for the first question is, how did you guys come up with this idea?
Yeah, so we actually grew up here in Orlando, and we did a little bit of traveling and found ourselves up in the Pacific Northwest, most recently in Bend, Oregon. And while we were out there, we kind of fell in love with the food truck pod kind of scene they had going on there, and really kind of thought it would be a nice mashup between our passion for craft beer and a way to bring a variety of food in one kind of condensed location. So one winter, we were both teachers in Oregon and wrote a business plan for this and pitched the city of Orlando, and they bought it.
That's really how it went?
Yeah, that's how it went. And so we actually, after I wrote the business plan, called the city of Orlando. They gave me a kind of partial thumbs up kind of thing, and came down during our spring break, actually drove down and pitched the idea to the city, and then they gave me an official thumbs up, and we wrapped up the school year out in Oregon, packed up everything, moved down, and we were 100% a la carte ever since that day.
Wow. April, how is that conversation? Like, do you guys be like, you know what? We're no more teachers. We're just going to go straight into a business together. Because I think about it as I own a business, but I have my wife does a different job. But now the both of you are going to be like, hey, we're going to work. Not only are we going to own a business together, but we're going to work together. How the heck did that conversation go?
It's a lot of conversations. It's not one. Honestly, Dustin and I have worked together for a very long time. We were living overseas and we came back. We both got jobs together bartending in a very, very tight, small bar that did high volume, and found that we kind of have a rhythm together. We ended up becoming teachers at the same high school, kind of across the hall from each other. Very cute, very confusing for incoming freshmen. And
that's a Mrs. Williams, not a Mr. Williams on your schedule there.
You're going to need to go across the hall. And so, it's hard. I'll be honest. It's not always easy for us. There are days when we talk about how hard it can be on your relationship, because every idea that you guys see here when you walk into A La Carte has been thought about and discussed and argued over and vetted out between us before it ever makes it here. So it's great for a business, but it can be hard on a relationship. But the truth is, at the end of the day, I get to spend all my time with my best friend, and we share the same vision and passion. And so we were living in Seattle.
Likewise.
And Dustin had this idea that he wanted to do, and I was always scared to make the leap. And then he had another idea he wanted to do, and I was like, oh, let's get a steady paycheck and health insurance. And then finally we were in Oregon, and he brought this up, and we just had found ourselves spending so much time at the local food pod, and it was great to bring friends. It was great for our family. He could get what he wanted to eat. I could get what I wanted to eat. We were comfortable there. We were just, I couldn't say no to him again. I thought it was a beautiful concept, and we went all in. I thought, what are we doing if we're not following our dream?
And then what was it that decided, I know obviously you were originally from Orlando. Did you just think from the beginning, you're like, oh, we don't have this in Orlando. This would be a great concept to bring to Orlando?
Yeah, I mean, we fell in love with the concept, and it was being done, to some degree out in Oregon. But really, I guess the turning point is we had family come out and visit us whenever we had our son was born. And when they would come to visit, we were excited to bring them to the food truck pods there, just so everybody could get something different and kind of hang out. And anytime they would visit, they would be like, man, this would do really well in Orlando. And we're like, yeah, we know. And so when designing the business plan, it's really unique for us to try to find, Orlando's missing this. Portland has this, Bend, Oregon has this. Where's somewhere that this would be extremely beneficial, and we thought Orlando would be a great place for it. And then to come home and see all of our friends and family would be also beneficial as well.
Yeah, it's funny because when I read about this happening, I had already been to Portland and I was already obsessed with the concept. So I knew the concept would do well, but what makes your concept better, because based on all the ones that I went to, because I was only in Portland for like a week and I literally ate at pods the whole time, is the fact that you guys have like this amazing infrastructure. It's like a beautiful inside, the other ones were like shanty bars, and it was just kind of like, and I kind of felt like they were just pods, but you still had generators. Here we're talking about a place specifically built for that. So it's like a beautiful indoor facility with the bar. But then at the same time, all the trucks have electrical, so they're able to connect. So you're not listening to generators. So it's like, it's just a nice, it's like literally made, like this spot was made for this. So that's where one of my questions is going to lead to is, did you know where you guys, like once you guys knew, did your plan change? Like, did you guys have a different concept than what the concept was here? Or did it basically transform based on the location or the spot that you guys were able to find available to do a la carte?
I would actually say a little bit of both. So we, when we identified Orlando was the thing and City of Orlando gave us the thumbs up, we actually were intentional about how we were going to research this project and make it the best version of itself that it could be. So we traveled, when we moved across the country, we actually went 3 trips driving, and we went 3 different ways and went to every version of a food truck park that we could find that was somewhat near our route to get here. So we researched a lot of these all over the country and just really, identified these are the things that we have to have. These are the things that we want. And then we took all of those ideas, and our poor architect, we went to him and we said, hey, we found this property. It's 100 by 140 that checks off all of the boxes for zoning, and it's in a Main Street district. And checked off all of the qualifications for the City of Orlando. And we said it's 100 by 140, and we want this booklet of things that it has to have in it. And he did a great job in trying to get this vision and kind of pull it all together and do a lot with a little. It wasn't easy. It took a long time, but we did, achieve, I think, most, if not all, of the things that we were striving for in our business plan of having. Everything's really designed around the customer experience. That's why we did not want to have 5 generators going and those kind of things. So yeah, we tried to take the best of what other people were kind of doing across the country and just do our spin on it and our version on it and kind of put it all together. And here we are.
Awesome. What are some things you guys learned during this process? Because obviously, I mean, I know you guys did some work when it came to working in bars and restaurants, but like obviously running everything and then also doing it, like what are some things you learned along the way in getting this started here in Orlando? Because this is also a new concept in Orlando. So I'm pretty sure you had some hurdles to go as well as also trying to start your business.
I mean, we're still learning, right? We haven't figured it all out yet, but I think for me, the biggest thing is surrounding ourselves by people who are great supports for us. That it's really a cooperative thing here. We have a lot of probably the number one question that we get asked is, how do you pick your vendors? it's an intangible question. Are you going to ask that?
Yeah. It was on there.
It's an intangible thing for me. It's kind of a gut for us, but part of it is people who we like to work with and people who love this vision and love a la carte and want to provide a good customer experience. And that's the same for our staff. And so one of the things that we've learned is kind of a little bit of how to trust and let go and to give everybody the chance to do what they do great, and what they're great at. And so for the food trucks, it's making the food, the customer experience on that side. For our staff, it's engaging with the customers and introducing them to some new beers. And we're just so passionate about this. What we've learned is just how to bring that passion in with the community around us and to really just kind of share it and make it so much more than just Dustin and I can make it on our own.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. And that's kind of the big thing. And I know, like, I've been here a few times where I know you've kind of learning from everything from, like, and it's one of the things we'll talk about later about, like, when you start doing events and coming up with ideas and like what are the ramifications and what can you do and all those type of things. I know, Dustin, you're obviously a huge beer person. And I know, obviously, like, that's kind of how I kind of, when I saw this concept and then the more I got to know you guys, that was like the one thing I figured out. I was like, man, this is great. I was like, he gets to have like the beer aspect that he loves. And then what happens? You get hungry. So then you get a business model, basically. Oh, I'll just provide food and then people can come in and eat and we can support another small business. But, like, how do you go about and, like, deciding and building the relationships with the different beers? Because obviously you're not a brewery, but you got 15, I guess you have 12 or 13 beers on tap because you also have coffee and all these other things on tap too. But how do you decide what's, like, on your rotation? Because you guys are constantly just, bringing different beers, which is great because I never want to travel. Sometimes I don't go to all these breweries and you're like, oh, this place is from Colorado and this place is from here. So how do you build those relationships and bring those beers here to a la carte?
Well, that's a great question. And I think it just comes down to passion. For me, it is beer. I love traveling and trying out new breweries. Every time we go somewhere, we're constantly, poking our head into the local brewery that's there and trying new styles. And the nice part about our concept here and doing it all rotational is that we can kind of identify what we think is, a popular beer style, and we're going to have it. That being said, we also always have a dark beer, even in the dead middle of the summer when it's the hottest. We're always going to have a dark beer, and in the cold, even though it's not that cold, but the coldest day of the year, we're always going to have some light beer options as well. We want to try to have a wide range and kind of get as many. We know we can't get every beer drinker here, but we want to find something awesome for everybody. And then as far as selection goes, it really kind of just comes down to, our taste is like what we like and what we've identified. And then just, we also try to be here as much as possible to get the customer feedback and find out what they're drinking and what they're enjoying. We like going to beer festivals and seeing what breweries are popular, what beer styles are popular at each. We read, there's beer publications, we read those magazines. We just have, like I said, we have a passion for it. We love it. We think that it's such a community-driven beverage. We just think that kind of encompasses, what we're trying to do here at a la carte.
It's funny, we travel so much for beer, and just when we travel, we always are stopping at beer places, and somebody looked at us and said, you guys really have it figured out now, huh? You found something you love, and that's kind of, you're always researching, you're always working. That's the fun part, I think, for me, I know it is, but for Dustin, I think it's what he loves, is just getting to meet these brewers when we travel. For example, right now, if you look up at the wall, we have a collaboration on with Tactical right around the corner over in Baldwin Park. We love those guys. Dustin's kind of always hanging out with those guys, and it's just fun to get together and play around, and sometimes you get to brew beer and drink good beer and talk about beer.
Yeah, and on that one, actually, it's a funny story. We were homebrewing back when we were living in Seattle, and this is before they had the hazy New England style, and my favorite homebrew recipe that I ever made was a grapefruit ginger pale ale. And I just thought it had a nice balance, bitterness from the grapefruit, a little spice from the ginger, a little sweetness from the malt. And I was discussing that with the guys over at Tactical. And we thought, wouldn't that be awesome on a hazy double IPA that they were coming out with? So next thing you know, the Pack Mule was born, which is one thing that we have on right now, which is pretty unique, pretty fun. And another side benefit of the business is now I get to go to breweries and hang out, and that's a company expense for research.
Trust me, I know about that when it comes to sandwiches. I get it. I totally get that. So obviously social media, super big. I think it's super important within your business. I'm kind of curious with the fact that you have 5 food carts or 5 food trucks here, and obviously it's a community. So how important is it being, like, how does it work with, you have like, you're basically, because you have like your message of a la carte, but then you also have 5 others that are trying to do their thing, because at the end of the day, you're technically an umbrella of a la carte, and you're trying to get people to come in to try. So like, how difficult is that, like, to do that when it comes to, because I know some folks may not be as savvy when it comes to social and things like that. So how do you guys kind of get all on the same page and kind of be able to, and use that importance of social media?
Do you feel like we're all on the same page? Is that what you see as a consumer of social media? That's great. That'd be great to hear.
Well, I mean, I think you guys, I look at it 2 ways, right? I look at it as, and I'm looking at it obviously because I've done like small events and with other people and stuff like that. And so I'm always intrigued by that whole aspect of, I notice that some small businesses aren't great at social media, and a lot of it's not because they don't want to. It's just because of the fact that they're running a business. And if there's a small business, there's like another thing that it's very time consuming. But you guys do a really good job at, obviously telling folks like, this is what a la carte's offering. And then you're promoting these businesses that are part of your business. And at the same time promoting what you guys are offering, the beers, the events, activities. But at the same time, I also know that you have, there's got to be some, message, whether you're like, there's got to be some form of like, hey guys, we're working on this, or, make sure you share this, because obviously, and I don't know, I'm just kind of thinking, I'm just looking at it kind of from outside. So I don't know, and I'm not trying to start anything, but I'm just kind of curious on like how that works, because obviously a lot of these small businesses, you're kind of like telling them, hey, is it like a constant thing, like everyone's all in, or is it constantly like, hey, I need you guys to share this, or I need this, like how difficult is that aspect of it?
So I have 2 answers for it, then I'll let April dive into more detail if she thinks she wants to. The number one thing that we do with our social media, and Instagram is our number one. It's what we have kind of put the most time and effort and energy into, just because we think that vehicle for a la carte is the best way to promote ourselves. Not that the other ones are worse. It's just what we've done. We always look at everything from the customer perspective, and that's kind of allows us to drive a single message, and it's kind of, what is it that we're selling at a la carte. So we always think of every post, every feature, everything is all about the consumer experience and what they should expect when they come here. The second piece of it is really and this is, I think, a hard thing for most business owners, is to try to clearly identify the thing that it is that you're selling. So at a la carte, we sell really 3 things. We sell food. So, we have to focus on the food vendors. That's as much as I'm passionate about beer. You can get beer just about anywhere. And it's just, that's really not why our customers come here. They come here for the food truck, food that we have. The second thing is our space. People really enjoy, coming here. They feel that it's a little bit different, unique dining experience than a typical chain restaurant. And then lastly, we do some unique, just because of our setup, and we like to have, unique, fun kind of twists, and we do some really kind of fun events. A lot of them are themed. Not all of them are themed, but we have an IPA. I know it's beer themed, but we have a beer themed event going on right now But we have a spicy heat week coming up at the end of June. We have Oktoberfest, which is beer and food. We do a Pumpkin Fest, which is beer and food as well, in October. So those we identified are our three biggest things that we're trying to sell to our customers, and not beat them over the head with the latest craft beer offering that comes out. So I think, and that was something that we learned out of the gate. Or that we didn't do out of the gate, and that we've learned along the way, is we really need to clearly identify what it is that we're selling and focus on that. And then the last bit of it is, and it's a consistent struggle, but just trying to get the best content out there that you can get. So really investing in photography and just trying to make it. I mean, it's our advertising platform. So you get out of it what you put into it. And we put a lot into it, so hopefully we're getting out of it what we're putting in.
And the coordination piece, to speak to that part of it, it's such an interesting business model we have here, because we do work with 5 other business owners very, very closely on a collective, but they all have their own individual growth goals. And Dustin and I try to meet with them, somewhat regularly to see how they're doing, what those goals are, and how they're achieving them. And so for one truck who wants to have multiple locations, they're going to post something different than the truck who's happy to just have this one location is going to post. And we try to be aware of that and help them with that. Sometimes we write content for them, or we'll work on some of their posts or their website for them to help them however we can. It's a lot of work, you're right. And to bring on somebody to run it for these guys might just be out of reach, unaffordable for them. So we try to support them as much as we can with that. I'm learning constantly. And the truth is, we're a consumer of Instagram. How does Dustin stay abreast of the latest beer trends? Well, he's on there all the time, following hundreds of breweries, thousands probably, if I had to guess.
Probably.
And I'm looking at what am I engaging with food-wise. And we have some other accounts that we think do a really great job, and we just try to incorporate it all together.
No, it makes total sense. And that's why I was kind of intrigued by it, just because of the fact that, based on my experience, even doing, like when I was doing sandwich eat up events, my big thing was I noticed the need for some of these. And just from working with, knowing so many small businesses here, it's such a hard thing, because it's like a juggling act of I have to create my product or create my business, but at the same time, you need to showcase the business, because that's how people know about it. But then it's which one goes first, or which one's, and it's a constant struggle. So I can only imagine trying to keep everyone, all 5, technically 6 voices, yours and 5 others, all kind of together to be kind of, because if all together, obviously way louder reach and all that stuff, just because of algorithms and all the other things when it comes to social media. So that's why I was kind of curious about that. So thanks.
And I think what's really, and again, we can get caught up with all of our stuff and the business stuff, but really, like I said, it comes back to, the customer, and really trying to get them the experience that we're trying to sell them, and try to put that in their, in their brain and, on their phone, and make sure that they can almost taste that sandwich. They can almost, experience that event, or they can envision themselves in our space. So we just try to do our best job of kind of portraying that and putting it out there for them, and hopefully they come and patronize.
So what are some things for someone who wants to start something, whether it's brick and mortar type concept or just start a business? What words of advice, ideas, concepts that you would give them to go about it? A lot of these folks, and I usually try to use this as like a platform to be able to kind of not only tell people their stories, but also to be able to kind of hopefully inspire them, not just to to open a business, heck, maybe even just to get off their ass to start working out or doing something. Sometimes there's a lot of fear and concern and they kind of, that whole thing. So what are some things that you think that you would you tell someone who has those concerns or fears, or at the same time desires and wants to do it, but just hasn't pulled the trigger? What are some things that you would tell them?
You're going to give me that one, huh?
Yeah, sure. I'll love that one over.
Wow, that was a big question. There's a lot of things I would tell somebody working out and starting a business. I'll tell you what I tell myself, because like I said at the beginning, Dustin was all in on businesses. He was ready to go, and I wasn't. But, you can always go back to a teaching job or a corporate job. Those that whole world doesn't go away. It's always there. But for me, it became this chance of, do I really fully want to live? And I do. And I want to live in every aspect of my life, you know, whether it's my relationships, whether it's outside activities, or in the business world and my career. And so what a great leap of faith to try to do something that you love and you're passionate about. That would be the next thing I would say, though, is make it sure that it's something you're passionate about. Don't just try to do something for money, because, I mean, I don't know. The chances of success, I don't know what they are, you know, exactly depending on each industry. But if you're passionate about it, at the end of the day, we're still happy, even if this whole thing failed, because we did something we loved. But if we were just trying to make a quick buck, we'd be upset. We'd have regret. But no matter what happens, I won't have any regret about a la carte and leaving our, you know, 9 to 5s to try something that we believed in and we're passionate about. But the biggest lesson I'm learning 2.5, 3 years into this now is to not take myself and all of it so seriously. I've kind of gotten caught up in the running of a business, and I've forgotten just to have fun with it sometimes. And that's something I keep saying to Dustin, you know, remind me that this is passion, that this is love, and this is fun, and to laugh more and just enjoy it more. And I'm trying not to take myself and all of it so seriously now, and kind of get back to that beginning, because, you know, you get a couple years into it and to running people's social media accounts for them and to doing payroll and all of that. And you're like, wait a minute, how did I end up on this side of it? And now we're getting back to the fun side of it again and just laughing. It's so important to do that.
Yeah, a lot of people ask us, like, how many kids do you have? And we always, even though we only have one physical kid, we always tell them we have 2 kids. That a la carte is our second one. But it is really true. I mean, you invest so much time and energy and love and passion into it, just like you would another kid. But you know, just like with anything, kids can be frustrating and kids can be a pain and a hassle, but they're so joyous and wonderful and awesome. So just like she said, just focusing on the best parts of being a parent, you know, if you will.
I love that.
That's great. That's great. I always tell myself to, I make a point to kind of write down or at least think of like the little successes, because what tends to happen is we tend to look out sometimes too far out, and then I notice that you then forget about all the things that you have accomplished or has succeeded. And so it's a lot different when you start looking at it in a different perspective, because, you know, when you're looking at it in a tunnel vision where it becomes that, and you then tend to forget to appreciate all the successes and all the things that you guys have accomplished and done, it's a lot easier to kind of be able to see those things. So yeah, I think I absolutely love it, and I totally agree with that, because, you know, to me, Deli Fresh Dreads in my business and everything is my passion. That's something that I love, and then that's one of the things I admire about you guys, because I'm not going to lie, I'm chicken and I haven't done that plunge, you know, where I've done it. Like, I'm just saying I'm freaking going all in. So that's why I admire. And that's actually kind of, in some selfish reasons, this is one of the reasons why I like doing these things, is because I love hearing the story of what you guys are doing and the confidence that you guys said, you know what, you're right, I can get a job anytime, you know, but I'm going to do this because this is what I love and I'm passionate about, and this place kicks ass. So I totally get it. Family wise and balance, because I'm kind of curious, since you mentioned kids, so it kind of works out really well. And I know that, and I've seen and I appreciate when I see the fact that I have seen you guys that go on vacation. I know it's probably taken some time to get to that point. But how do you guys balance it? Like, that's funny, because this is the number one question my wife asks every time I tell her. I'm like, hey, I'm going to speak with Dustin and April. What do you think? She's like, how do they balance it? How do they balance life and work and family? And I was like, yeah, I think that's the question everyone wants to know.
I think one of the biggest benefit of being a teacher was having 3 months off in the summer. I mean, that was, it wasn't for the money, that's for sure. So we used to do quite a lot of travel before we set off on this adventure, and just to give, you know, a la carte all the time and energy and focus that it needed, we did take travel off for a little while, and it is a huge passion of ours. And then right about the time we were getting really comfortable in, you know, leaving a la carte and trusting our staff and everything to where it could run itself without us being here all the time. Then a little pandemic came along and shut down travel again. So now that things are starting to get a little bit better in terms of travel, we are yeah, we're starting to get out there a little bit more and in a very safe way. But yeah, it's definitely a passion that we're going to continue to explore. And I think you're exactly right. It is all about balance, and you know, it's tough. It's not always easy to find that, but you know, every now and then you just got to take a minute and pause and look at, you know, the important stuff, both professionally and, you know, personally. And yeah, what is important, and travel's near the top of our list for us. And so we have a big focus on it coming up here in the near future.
That being said, when we travel, you know, we've got our phones, obviously, and we've got our little Chromebooks. So we try to peel off a little bit of time here and there to be able to work a little bit, whether it be social media, whether it be updating some inventory and whatnot for our staff, so that we can ensure that we can travel and still support this, because it is hard to do both. But that's kind of how we're trying to, it's almost impossible to completely turn it off for a whole week at a time. Mm-hmm. But we've kind of said to ourselves, if we can be smart about a couple hours in the evening after our son goes to bed, or a couple hours in the morning when we're on vacation but nothing's opened up yet, to knock out a couple things, then maybe we can do all the things we want to do. And so that's how we're trying our best to keep it afloat and travel.
Makes sense. Future a la carte. Do you guys have, like, and obviously I've thought of this, and I think we may have briefly brought it up, and I'm not that I want you to share any secrets now, but is there thoughts of, obviously once you've already created an infrastructure, and obviously I know we're in a pandemic, so things have obviously changed, but grand scheme wise, are we looking at possibly, like, you know, obviously this kind of franchising idea, or possibly doing more of these things? Is this something that is being discussed or thought of?
To tell you the truth, that wasn't the original business plan. It was, let's just build a place that we love and let's go from there. And what we have found in the past 2.5 years is this, you know, what people say to us, I can almost quote it. We needed this. I hear that, and it catches me off guard still every time to hear that phrasing. We needed something like this. We need you in insert any neighborhood of Orlando, any neighborhood of the country. Everywhere from the West Coast to the East Coast, people have said it to us. And so it's caused us over the past 2 years to dream bigger. Mm-hmm. It's changed what our vision is for this. And so, in short, more a la cartes, yes.
That's awesome. No, that's what I wanted to hear, because
yes.
I'm telling you, when I knew this from the beginning when I walked in and saw this, and I was like, damn, like this is already like it just has that feel where I can see this becoming bigger than just Orlando. Like it's just like a la carte Orlando is like the original, but then it becomes, I see it in other small, maybe not like not in a bad way, but I don't see it in larger cities. I see it in the cities similar to Orlando, where we're kind of like, it has like that nice feel where it's not so big like an LA type thing, but all these other places like in Oregon or in, you know, and things like that, those type of places. So yeah, I absolutely love that.
Thank you.
I was just telling somebody the other day, I mean, like when you have like a Wendy's, for example, like Wendy's, they all more or less are like the same footprint. They all look the same for the most part. They have their business model, and it kind of is the exact same. The unique part for a la carte is that it can be, you know, hypothetically, it could be 10 times bigger than this. I mean, we could maybe go a little bit smaller than this somehow. I know my architect would tell you otherwise, but it's adaptable. It can go, it can scale up, it can scale down. It can go really in any neighborhood and have a little bit different feel, but really kind of reflect the community around it, or, you know, that is around it. And we really think that it's a unique little fun thing, and other places have expressed interest in having something like this, and I think we're ready to do it.
We're close.
And what I think I love is the fact that you guys, this was not like, it's kind of like how you mentioned it, this is a passion project that you started, you know, just like, I wanted to just open this one, but as time went on and you developed the concept and it actually kept on, people started seeing it, then it started, now your vision grew. So it's kind of nice to see that as well, that the fact that you're like, you know, you don't have to, just because you're at one spot right now in your, you know, let's say journey of your business or anything like that, it doesn't mean that you can obviously have champagne taste and possibly be in beer budget, but at the same time, be able to kind of, look out as things develop, start building into that to being like, okay, well, I can do more of this than what it is. Yeah. And you start learning kind of like that, the special sauce is what I call it. Like once you start figuring out the special sauce and you know what it is, then you can now, you're like, okay, now I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm creating. I can recreate this. And I think that's always kind of really special. So that's exciting to hear. So do me a favor. I know obviously I got my lunch. My lunch is almost over, and I know you guys are busy as well. So do me a favor and tell folks how they can follow you and then how they can check out a la carte and support you guys.
Yeah, you can find us online at alacarteorlando.com. Got to be careful when you go to spell a la carte. It's not the French way. We took the E off the end of a la carte, ALACART. It's a pun there for food cart, in case you didn't get that one. So alacarteorlando.com, on Facebook and on Instagram at alacarteorlando.com, all one word. We are in the Milk District, just off Colonial in the greater downtown Orlando area here. We're here 7 days a week for lunch and dinner.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. I really appreciate you guys. That's our show for today. Thank you so much for Dustin and April for being on the show and having lunch with me. Definitely make sure to check them out and go to a la carte. If you're in Orlando, by all means, stop by, have a beer. There's all types of food here. So it's like they really did a nice job of trying to figure out a little bit of everything. If you want something sweet, you want some, pokey, you want some dessert, definitely go check them out and check out a la carte Orlando. If you're interested and you enjoyed the show, definitely subscribe. If you want to support me, check out my brand, Deli Fresh Threads, and do some shopping and tell your friends there. Thank you so much. Until next time, keep eating sandwiches and follow your passion. Thanks, guys.